Hey, so here's some things that no one told me was going to happen when I became pregnant or gave birth, and I had to find out the hard way. So I'm sharing it so that other people don't have to find out the hard way like I did. So if you want to know what they are, then keep watching. The first one, number one, is an itchy belly. So when I was pregnant, not now, when I was pregnant, I had, which actually maybe now I learned that that's quite common. I'd never heard of it and no one had ever told me about it before. So when I was in pregnancy and I couldn't help scratching because I had an itchy belly, I was like, why did no one tell me about this? And apparently it helps if you like continuously moisturize. I mean, I think there were a couple days where I didn't, and then that's apparently where the itching starts. So if I were you, I would keep it moisturized because having an itchy pregnancy bump is not nice. Number two is midwives not being like super personal to you. I might be naive to think that my midwife was going to be a little bit more personal to me. Maybe it's what I've seen in films and stuff, but no one told me, or maybe it's just, this is just my experience and everyone else did have really personal midwives. But for me, in my experience, and I can't imagine I'm the only one in the world that has gone through this, but my midwives were not personal at all. I barely spoke to them. I couldn't get through to them when I needed. I thought that you had like a phone for like that specific midwife, but you have a phone for like the reception, like a phone number, sorry, for the reception. It's not like one midwife. I just thought it was going to be a more personal experience and it just wasn't, and I found that really difficult because when I had questions and things, because it was so difficult to get through, I just kind of Googled instead of talking to someone. When actually I wanted to talk to someone, I couldn't get through, so I thought, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to be able to get through to them, I might as well just Google it, and that sometimes can misinform you. Number three is no one telling you, okay, this one might be a bit stupid. I can be a little bit ditzy sometimes, but number three is basically no one telling you, or there's never any mention of like what to do when you go into labour. Who do you call? Like, what do you say? Where do you go? How long do you wait? Like, I was never told any of this. So the only thing that I had was to call my midwife, which I've just spoken about. There's no like, you know, it's not personal. So I had to call them, and you know, you get put through to like the other numbers for like general midwives in the area. So yeah, no one actually told me what to do. So when I did go into labour, I was like, I don't know if this is labour, I don't know if I go to the hospital, I don't know who to call. I just didn't know what to do. And although that might sound stupid, and you know, people might be looking at this and being like, well, obviously you just call and then do what they say, at the time it was all very new to me and I had no idea what I was doing, and no one had ever told me what happens when you go into labour. So yeah, I just thinking back to that now, I think that's so odd. But again, maybe I'm just being stupid. Number five, I think, the ward after you have babies, the ward that you're on is like 30 degrees, or it feels like 30 degrees. It's wildly hot. So now the reason that this is an issue is because you have to pack a hospital bag, and especially me, I was in hospital for a little while, and in my hospital bag I packed really thick tracksuits and, you know, big jumpers, basically like this. And when I was actually there, I was like, I don't want to wear any of these clothes. I'm so hot, I'm sweating. And when you're sweating and you're confined to this tiny little space in the hospital, and you're a new mum and everything's different and you just can't get away from the heat, it is so irritating. But yeah, no one told me how hot it was going to be, so the only clothes that I had were like jumpers, and I was just sweating the whole time. Eventually I had to get Yas to grab me some clothes, some cooler clothes, and I ended up pretty much just wearing like pajamas the whole time, because I just did not want to wear the clothes that I'd packed in my hospital bag. So yeah, that's, and I now that I have been through it and I've spoken to other people about it, they're like, yeah, it's really hot. So you know, if you're pregnant and you're about to drop and you're about to go into hospital, or even if you're not, just know that when you give birth, it's going to be super hot in there. So don't pack really, really hot things. Maybe take one jumper just in case it's not, but it's you don't need big woolly tracksuits like I had. Number 5 is that no one told me how much it hurts when they are checking for, like, to see how dilated you are. It could just be me and I could just be weak, but it freaking hurt. And it's not something that I thought was gonna hurt me. You know, you think like giving birth and doing other things, pushing a baby out, pushing the placenta out, you know, contractions, all of that, you know that's gonna hurt. But no one ever talks about the fact that they have to check how wide you've become. They have to check that, and it hurts. Until I had the epidural, every time they checked me, I was like screaming in pain, and they kept going, I know, it's painful, I'm sorry. And I thought, why did no one prepped me for this? No one said it's really painful when they check to see how dilated you are. Not one person told me. Again, it might just be me. I don't do pain very well. It might just be me. So I don't know. Everyone's experience is different, but no one told me. And I wish I'd have known. Number 6 is that after you give birth, your legs and your feet, although your feet kind of swell in pregnancy anyway, after I'd given birth, I kept like speaking to like nurses and stuff, because I was like, is this normal? My legs were like 3 times the size. So, like, my thighs all the way down to my ankles, and my feet were like 3 times the size as what they were. And they said, yeah, it's like water retention or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this was a thing. Now again, I might have just, you know, completely breezed through my pregnancy without researching or whatever, and other people might have, so they might know this information, but I did not know this information. So when I had really swollen legs and feet, I was worried, but I was told everything was fine and not to worry, and that is completely normal. But for me, it was really scary. So yeah, that's another thing that no one told me about. Number 7 on the list is the fact that I think it's after a C-section. I don't know, because I had a C-section. I don't know about a vaginal birth, but I think after a C-section, everyone has to have, or at least I did, again, a totally unique experience, but I imagine other people would have had the same experience as me. But you have to inject yourself. And that's something that I just can't do. So they send you home. I think I went home on like day 3 or 4 of the twins being born, and they send you home with like blood thinning injections, or like anti-blood clot injections that you have to inject in your stomach. And I had no idea. I literally had no idea, and I was like, I can't do this. And Yas has like a needle phobia. He like gets chills just when I say needle. So there was no way he was going to do it. The only person that could do it for me was my mum. And obviously I don't live with my mum. So that was really annoying, because my mum had to come. I got something in my eye. My mum had to come over to my house every day, because you have to do it every day in the same spot for like, I think it's like 6 days or something. So she had to come over to my house every day. I'm sure she didn't mind, because she got to see her grandkids. But luckily, well, not luckily, we had to go back into hospital because of Ezra's jaundice. So I was with nurses there, so they were able to help me. But if I wasn't, my mum would have had to do it. And if people don't have their mums, you know, who can do things like that, or anyone else who's willing to do it, you have to do it yourself. And they send you with like a sharps box and everything. I literally had no idea that was a thing. No one told me about the fact that I would have to inject myself. Number 8 on the list is, now this one might be a bit stupid. Again, I always think that I'm being stupid, but maybe I'm not. Maybe this is just normal way of thinking. So I was put into a private room because of, you know, having twins, and there wasn't much room in those little sections that they give you. And also Ezra was under like a certain lamp because of his jaundice. So we were put into a private room, and Yas had to go home at like after visiting hours. He had to go home. So when it was just me and the twins, and say like, people don't do everything for you when you're in hospital, so you have to like wash your own bottles and wash your pump and things like that, which means that you have to leave the room. And so I found it really weird because no one told me what to do. So they were like, you need to wash your stuff, which means I have to go like down the corridor to like the kitchen. And I kept asking like, can you watch the babies? And they're like, it's fine, like you can just leave them and go. And it just felt very alien to me. I've just had these babies and you want me to just leave them in a room on their own while I go and wash up. I didn't like that. Again, I don't know if where I was is wrong. It still doesn't feel right to me to leave babies. I used to ask people to watch them, like the nurses and stuff, to watch them, but it still doesn't feel right to me to just leave babies, you know, 4-day-old babies in a room, 2-day-old babies, 1-day-old babies in a room on their own while you go and wash bottles. And I don't know, it just felt really weird. But maybe I'm just being silly. Did anyone else have that kind of experience? I don't know. I thought it was weird anyway, and no one told me that that's what you, like, that's the protocol, that's what you do when you're in hospital. I don't know. Maybe I'm being silly. And last but not least, number 9. This one I might have heard, but no one was like, this is going to happen to you. And pretty much everyone that I've spoken to is like, yeah, it happened to me too. And that is like the most extreme constipation that you will ever go through in your whole life. Like, honestly. And it starts in pregnancy, and it goes all the way through your pregnancy, all the way after you've given birth. I don't even remember when like my body actually went back to normal. For months. You just have constipation for months. Like, what the hell? That's not normal. I mean, I guess it is normal. I was told it was normal, but how? So yeah, for months of my life, I was just extremely uncomfortable, as you can imagine. I was extremely uncomfortable. And someone had mentioned like, oh yeah, you get constipation, but no one had mentioned like how severe it is and how long it lasts and how much it's gonna completely like F up your life. Okay, now I'm being dramatic, but it's honestly, it's really annoying having constipation for months on end, like 9 months plus maybe like another month or 2 or 3 or 4. I don't remember how long I had constipation for after I gave birth, but let me tell you, it was the worst, and I was so uncomfortable just for months. So on top of, you know, having a C-section and boob pain and all the other aches and pains that you get after you have babies, you also have constipation, which means that you probably have a bit of a tummy ache pretty much every day, and it hurts to go toilet. I wasn't aware. I wish I knew, just to prepare myself. Not that I can do anything about it, but just to prepare myself mentally. So that was my list of things that no one told me or that I didn't know about before getting pregnant and giving birth. Am I the only one? Did anyone else go through the same kind of things that I did? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, then like this video. Like I said, if you went through anything else that you want to add to the list, you can add to the list in the comments down below. Let's chat. And also, if you want to keep seeing videos of me living out this crazy kind of twin mum life, then subscribe to my channel.